Okay, instructions to individuals who wish to speak. If you would like to address the commission at this meeting, you're requested to fill out one of the blue cards and hand it in to the clerk. It'll aid in record keeping and taking of minutes. There has been a time limit established of 3 minutes. On meetings like this where it's fairly small, if the commission decides that somebody wishes to speak a little bit longer, we'll vote on whether to approve a longer time. At this point, we're going to move on to correspondence. There is none. Before we move on to approval of minutes, I actually need to speak with the city attorney, so we're going to take a short recess while I call the city attorney and have a conversation with him, and then we'll reconvene. Thank you. I'll be right back. Doesn't look like it's that warm, but actually that jacket does its job really well. All right. So that was item number 4. Okay, the meeting of the Oroville City Planning Commission is reconvened. Approval of minutes for the meeting of 11/15/2018. Were there any changes or additions to the minutes?
I move the minutes be approved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Please open the voting. Does anyone wish to change the vote? Seeing none, voting is closed.
Motion carries. Okay, moving on to public hearing. Public hearing procedure is as follows.
I will open the public hearing. Staff and applicant will introduce the item. After they've introduced the item, the hearing will be open for public comment. After the public comment, I will close public hearing and discussion will be limited to commissioners and staff. And then after discussion and questions, we will take a vote. Okay, first item, zoning code 18-04, allowed use in mixed use districts. Gary?
Good evening, Mr. Robinson, Chair and Commissioners. Gary Lehman, Chief Building Official, Acting Community Development. I would like to, before we get going, request if we could put item number 4 in front of item number 3, and that change would be from, it's still a conditional use permit, but it will be, instead of a zoning change, just a conditional use permit to approve the Oroville Hospital project. The reason for the moving it in front of item number 3 is because item number 3 is a variance that is in part of the conditions of approval for the Oroville Hospital project.
Does anyone have an objection to the items being swapped? Okay, then we will be moving item number 4 to, it will now become item number 3, and number 3 will now become item number 4.
Thank you. So now to go over the zoning change 1804, and that's the allowed uses in mixed use districts. What we're trying to accomplish here, and as it was indicated as a concern kind of by the commission in our last meeting, are we going to be piecemealing all these little changes together going through? And what it is while we're going through the municipal code and the zoning ordinances and the uses that are available there, we're finding out that some of the uses that have been being used in the city are no longer allowed to be used because of the zoning and the change that went to the zoning plan back in 2015 when they made a change. So with this being said, one of those that is of an issue was vehicle motor repairs and vehicle sales. And we kind of went over this with the cessation, and this is when the commission kind of expressed a little concern about, are we going to revisit this or keep making little changes? So where this is instead of making variances, continued variances and conditional use permits and use permits and expense, and creating a non-user friendly environment for businesses to come into the city, staff has looked at this and would like to present this to the commission for review and approval. And what it is MXC, if you look into the table, what we have currently, what was zoned as in what was being used in vehicle repair areas, vehicle sales areas in the past, is no longer allowed in those areas, which creates a conflict and an issue because we have existing businesses that operate in that capacity. But if someone else was to come in and want to operate the same business next door or in the same type building, strip mall type setting, that they're unable to do so because of our zoning municipal code. So therefore, and let's take for example, I'll use examples. We have the downtown mixed district, MXD, and downtown, vehicle repair shops are no longer allowed per the municipal code as it is written. However, we have a lot of vehicle repair shops, transmission shops, tire shops, and those that are on Montgomery and downtown. And the same exists with the MXC, the mixed use for commercial. And in an MXC, auto repair and auto sales are no longer allowed either. However, all of our Oral Dam Boulevard area is zoned MXC, and downtown is MXD. So what it is done is we have our main strip, which is Oral Dam Boulevard, that is zoned as a MXC, in our municipal code no longer allows for auto repair or auto sales. And this is a main hub of Oroville, and we're having businesses come in wanting to put auto repair, muffler shops, oil change, tune-up shops that in these areas, but they are no longer allowed to do so because of how our municipal code reads. So what staff has recommended, instead of, in lieu of coming to the commission each time and asking for either a variance or a zoning change, something like that, we figured to simplify the process, we would go into the table where it says for the allowed uses in mixed use districts, and add at the bottom of the table, if you look at page number 10, vehicle repair shops for MXD, MXN, and MXC to be allowed on the verses of an administrative permit. Not just totally allowed by right, but allowed per administrative permit. Therefore, it gives us the ability, staff the ability to put conditions to the use and approval of the business if they want to come in. Let's say, for instance, you got auto repair. Last thing we want on Oral Dam Boulevard is a bunch of old cars that are being worked on in vision and visible. Well, something that staff would do in an administrative permit is say no vehicles stored outside of the area, and has to be cleared, or if there are, it has to be behind a fence that can't be viewed from Oral Dam Boulevard or your main streets. This is the purpose of providing an administrative permit process for it, instead of just saying it's good to go. That would be the same with the downtown district and the mixed neighborhood area. Vehicle sales is another one. We did kind of handle across the street with that of a cessation, but we felt that the vehicle sales should also be in there because Oral Dam Boulevard, once again, is a main hub of Oroville. We have Oroville Ford, Toyota, Chevy, that's right there on Oral Dam Boulevard, which is now an MXC area that indicates that if another car dealer, which brings a lot of money to the city of Oroville, was to come in, that they would not be able to come in on our main drag on Oral Dam Boulevard. Typically, in staff's opinion, that doesn't make sense because we all know that when we go travel somewhere and we're looking for something, whether it's auto repair or auto sales, where's the first place we're going to go? We're going to turn off the freeway onto the main strip, and that's where we're going to look for those areas. So with that being said, vehicle sales in the MXD and MXN areas, we have not allowed them. So the mixed neighborhood, the mixed downtown, we feel that to have a new auto sales place coming downtown, no, not to allow that to be built, because that doesn't necessarily make sense.
Although we do have the center here that could take one by succession.
Absolutely. We do have the one across the street that we resolved on that with a cessation. Because that building was originally built and constructed for that and used for that purpose and has never been changed, then that's where that cessation comes in place. But for new construction or new buildings or new businesses for auto sales, staff doesn't feel that the downtown district is suitable for it, and also trying to keep the car sales out of the neighborhood areas. So then therefore we're not getting used car lots wanting to coming into our neighborhood areas, and keeping them more focused in the downtown MX mixed commercial areas where people are going to come. So that was the purpose of not allowing vehicle sales in the MXN and MXD, but allowing them in the MXC area. Open for any questions and comments.
Well, at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on this item? I didn't receive any cards, but okay. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Limit discussion between commissioners and staff. Any questions or comments?
So with this new zoning, let's say we had a BMW dealer or a Lexus dealer, they could actually come in across the street from the Oro Dam Auto Center, pretty much.
Absolutely, because that area is zoned MXC.
Right.
Without this, they wouldn't be able to. They would have to do a zoning change, and we know where that's going. We don't want to end up doing that. So this is more a simplicity process, and it's less expensive to the community that's coming in, or our vendors that would be coming in.
It sounds good. I just really want to see that condition of non-operational vehicles being screened off after business hours, definitely.
Yeah. Well, that's
Absolutely.
why the administrative permit, that's why it's AP.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with that too. So.
And that's the purpose for the administrative permit. The administrative permit is a $600 permit, where the use permit, conditional use permit, is a $3,000 permit. And then the administrative permit is available to be, is done by the zoning administrator and the planning department in lieu of bringing it in front of the council.
And if it came down to where you thought that it would require a use permit, then you'd bring that before the commission at that point, if it met certain requirements for that, I'm guessing.
If staff, where that would come is if someone challenged what staff had indicated as to what they wanted, say, no, we're not allowing vehicles parked outside after hours, and they wanted to challenge that, then they would appeal our conditions, and then that appeal would be required to come in front of the commission for review.
Any other questions or comments? When you initially brought it up, I had a number of concerns, I think, but the way that you've clarified it here and kind of fine-tuned it, addressed some of the issues that I had. Actually, I think it addressed any of the issues I can think of right now, but I'm tired, so I'm gonna I might not be thinking of all of them. But if no one else has any other questions, comments, or objections, I'll open for a motion.
I move we adopt resolution number P2018-15.
Hey, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any questions to the motion? Seeing none, please open the voting.
Oh.
Oh well, you made the motion for the first one, right?
So do you need a and for the
Well,
zoning?
just do a second motion. So
Okay.
right now it's just for the first motion. Does anyone wish to change their votes? Seeing none, voting is closed.
Motion carries.
Okay, now you can make. That shows you how tired I am. I thought you made a motion for both of them.
So I'd also move to adopt, I guess, zoning change number ZC-1804. Is that what we gotta do? Usually the
Well,
resolution-
one was adopting the findings, which I'm assuming that was the. Did you say the resolution or on the first one or the findings?
Well, the resolution,
Okay, well if you adopted the resolution, then that adopted the findings as well.
it should have done both.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
think.
Should be.
Should be good.
Yeah.
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 I think it would.
Yeah, that's what that. So we're fine.
All right, Commission, thank you.
Moving on
Very
to the next item, which is number 4 on the agenda, but it's actually that has been moved to number 3, Oroville Hospital,
All right.
conditional use permit. Gary.
And to help you out, Councilmember Robinson, I can't type it all out very well, but I can speak it in layman's terms.
So, and just for the public information, the wording of zoning change on the agenda has been removed. It's actually just the conditional use permit.
Okay, thank you. So, the purpose for the change from the zoning change to a conditional use permit is because the existing site, due to the rezoning map back in 2015, has a PQ area in a large section of the hospital area, and the other area is an MXC. There is going to be some lot line adjustments and some lot mergers being provided for the project to move forward, which will be coming in front of the, if those aren't required actually to come in front of the council or the commission, but they will be reviewed by staff. So, and those are part of the conditions of approval. So with that being said, a PQ allows a hospital under the use permit. So then therefore, staff is recommending the conditional use permit on the hospital, and the hospital be approved based on a conditional use permit and the findings and conditions that have been put forth and forward. The existing zonings that are there, our general plan has it for public use and mixed use, and that's our 2030 plan. Our current existing zoning is quasi-public PQ and corridor mixed use MXC. The corridor mixed use and the quasi-public would require the conditional use permit for the hospital to go in place. Therefore, I've put together this as a conditional use. We would like to present that to the council for the conditional use, and our findings have been that the land use meets that is put into our zoning code, and that is for the 2030 general plan coming forward. In addition, We have consulted with our city attorney to verify and confirm that this process is adequate and all that we're doing with the conditional use permit. The conditions, if you look at our conditions of approval, we have conditions of approval, and so with the public cause A, they'll have to get the height variance approval for the height, because the height is allowed to be 50 feet, is proposed to be 85 feet, which exceeds that of 35 feet. Therefore, that will require a variance approval by the, reviewed and approved by the commission. Also, in addition, is they'll have to meet the California Statewide Health and Planning Department, okay, and that's OSHPD, for their review and approval. Caltrans on the frontage there, and Caltrans, I've spoken with Caltrans. I have spoken with Bob Wentz and his team. We're familiar with what Caltrans wants and willing to work with them in getting what's needed to get the project moving forward. Item number 5 is where it says the applicant shall provide required lot mergers, lot line adjustments required to ascertain and comply with the requirements of the Oroville Municipal Zoning Code. The number 6 is the 10-foot property easement along the Olive Highway frontage area. Like I said, once again, that's a Caltrans request. That's also in our, well, the 7 feet is what the 2030 plan asked for. However, there's an additional 3 foot there for foundations, and that may go into the area because of raising the parking lot and that. All the other conditions are pretty standard that go with our conditional use permit, and I'm now willing to open it up to any questions, comments.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing. Did we not receive any blue cards? Or? Okay.
The only 2 I have are for item number 6.
Okay. That being said, is there anyone who did not turn in a blue card who wishes to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Limit discussions between commissioners and staff. Any questions or comments?
I guess I just had a question on item number 6. It says 10 feet of 10 feet of property easement. I don't know if that should be right away instead of easement. I don't know if that matters, but it doesn't seem like government agencies usually take easements. Usually they want it in fee.
Dedication?
Yeah, but I guess that'll come down in the Caltrans review.
In our Oroville Municipal Code, it indicates specifically in there that any project that exceeds $52,000 in valuation is required to dedicate right away, and so that would come in. We're just kind of clarifying 10 foot is what we're asking for.
Just the wording there
all right,
between the easement and the dedication of right away. But
okay. And staff has no problems, issues whatsoever in changing that. Familiar with your expertise. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to change that from easement to dedication? You think?
Caltrans will make it happen because it'll have to be a deed to Caltrans.
Yeah, dedicated deed. Or dedication, how have we put it, dedication per Caltrans requirement?
Dedication, okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Interesting, by limiting it to the use permit, it stops here unless it's appealed,
Mm-hmm.
which is nice.
Save staff time and the client money.
Keep it simple.
So if there are no other questions or comments, I'll open for a motion.
So would, the way it's written, let's see here. You were asking for an approval of the recommended findings?
Well, let me, okay, so you're looking at this one down here.
This is like.
Well, was that one of the new printouts, or was that?
The way it went last time, I don't know if you could just adopt the resolution.
You can just adopt the resolution, but what I want to make sure is that, is the resolution number the same as what we have here?
Yes.
With it? Okay.
Yes. It was coming forward as a conditional use permit. It was just coming forward as a conditional use permit with a zoning change.
Right, and that's, I just want to make sure that it's still the same resolution number, even though we don't have the zoning change
Yes.
on there anymore. Okay, so just be adopt the resolution.
So I move we adopt resolution number P2011 or P2019-01 with the changes about the dedication to Caltrans on item number 6.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any question as to the motion? Seeing none, voting is open. Does anyone wish to change the vote? Seeing none, voting is closed.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to the next item. I confused myself here. Item number 4, variance 19-01, Oroville Hospital height variance. Gary?
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Robinson and commissioners. This is the height variance, and that's why I requested this to come after the approval of the conditional use for the approval of the hospital, so we don't get the cart before the horse. In a PQ zoning area, the maximum building height is 50 feet. This building is proposed to go at 85 feet in height. Therefore, it's exceeding the allowable height by 35 feet. Therefore, when we go to exceed that, it requires a variance. And based off of the Oroville Municipal Code, it indicates the variances has to be reviewed and approved by the commissioners as brought forward by the staff. Staff has reviewed the height. Staff has also reviewed the comments and the mitigated negative declaration that in the building height portion of the surveys, and has come to the findings that we agree and support the additional 35 feet and having the building at 85 feet, and would like to just propose it to the commission, and I'm available for any questions or comments.
And I apologize I didn't ask. Does the applicant wish to speak
Yes.
on this? Okay. That being said, I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Limit discussion between commissioners and staff. Any questions or comments?
Does the ladder truck have any problem with that height?
No, that we won't. It's a sprinkled building. It has clearances all around, and the availability.
Yeah, Commissioner Drilling.
Is there a landscaping plan that's going to be adopted as part of this?
Absolutely. The landscaping plan has been reviewed and approved.
Yeah. In the landscaping plan, is there a provision or requirement or whatever for trees of a size that eventually, after 20 years or whatever, will help mitigate the view or sight or size of the building at all? Do you know?
The landscape plans that have been submitted meets the requirements of the city. staff is not concerned about the cosmetic appearance that's going to be set forth. I believe it's going to be quite a enhancement to the Oroville area and the area down there, in my opinion.
So the answer is no.
No.
Okay.
We haven't done that research.
But so mainly it takes into account probably shaded parking. And
Absolutely. Shaded parking is required, shaded sidewalks, and that is as far as putting redwoods or cedars in, that's going to grow to 75 to 100 feet. No, not necessarily, due to the disturbances that they do and other damage that they create.
Refresh my memory. Where's the new building going?
It's on Olive Highway. It'll be
In that strip where they're moving all the buildings. Is that
yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's what I thought.
part of parking, but yeah.
That is parking, building area. There's other demolitions that's going to be taking place. We have got the clearances from the environmental on hazardous waste for those to start taking place.
I don't see any issues.
No, if you go down to Marysville and look at the new hospital down there, it's about the same height.
Yeah.
And it's not that bad. It's and then from what I can see, the architecture and materials mitigate in terms of viewing it.
Absolutely.
A good looking building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll open for a motion.
I think all we need is to adopt a resolution, right? P2019-01. So I move to adopt resolution P2019-01.
02.
I'm sorry. 02. Thank you.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions to the motion? Seeing none, please open the voting. Does anyone wish to change the vote? Seeing none, voting is closed.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Commission.
Man, I am disorganized tonight. Moving on to our next item under regular business. So, there's something I wanted to bring up with staff on this one. Form issue. So, going into regular business, this next item is actually as the Historical Advisory Committee.
Right.
And while it is the same body, the same people, it's technically a different body.
We need to open it, yeah.
Yeah, so we should be recessing the Planning Commission and then opening the Historical Advisory Committee separately.
So I did set this up as a joint meeting if you see both titles listed at the top.
Yeah, we didn't open it that way. Could have.
Oh, up here.
Could have.
That's I never look at that part.
Yeah, that's okay.
Well, if that was the case, I would have opened it as a joint meeting instead of just the Oroville Planning Commission.
That's all right, just recess.
Because right
and
here,
open it.
The
big print right in
marijuana
center, it
issue
only
has
says
been
City
repealed.
Planning Commission.
Right.
What's that?
The marijuana issue has been repealed.
All right. Well, then moving on to regular business, painting, fascia, and masonry wainscoting at 1850 High Street.
Okay. Thank you once again, Commission. Last time we had gone over the fascia painting and that, but for some reason it has been brought back forward because of lack of notification. So it was reviewed and approved at our last meeting, but proper notification hadn't been provided. So we had gone through proper notification process, the 300 feet notification, and that 10 days prior to.
So we already made our recommendation then.
Well, we didn't, but it didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that
Technically didn't count.
didn't count.
Okay.
Did we have people wanting to speak? This isn't technically a public hearing, but did we? It's the next item. We had people who wish to speak, right? Okay. Is there any further discussion on this item? All right. Seeing none, then I'll open for a motion.
I move we approve the painting and masonry wainscoting that was presented to the committee.
There's motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
So motion and a second. Any questions to the motion? Seeing none, voting is open. Does anyone wish to change their vote? Seeing none, voting is closed.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Commission. Now we'll move on to the next one, which is the
Number 6, lot home re-roof project.
yes, please. Lot number 6, the lot home re-roof project for the Historic Advisory Committee. So the roof at the lot home is has been leaking for a few years. Staff has gone over and we did tear off the flat lower area and have been able to repair that. It's the upper area now that needs to be replaced and repaired, and the pitched area. Cedar shingles exist on that building. However, the expense of cedar shingles and the life expectancy of cedar shingles does not make it feasible for us to re-roof with cedar shingles. I have contacted the state for the historic advisories, and they indicated that this is something that we can make at our own level, that it's not required to go in front of them for review or approval. With that, we do have a couple guest speakers. As a prior roofing contractor myself, the composition using a 40-year profile composition shingle will give the same cosmetic appearance as the cedar shingle from the distance. Obviously, when you're right up to it, it won't. However, this is a 2-story building, and that roof is up quite high. So people aren't really going to notice that aesthetics from a cedar shingle to a composition shingle, whether it's, because the coloration that's chosen will be that would match that. Of course, what are we matching? Are we going to match the cedar shingles when they come out brand new, or are we going to match the cedar shingles when they're 2 years old, or are we going to match the color of the shingles in a 10-year period? So the composition shingle staff recommends to be a darker, either the black or the darker brown, leaving the choice to the docents that actually go and run that. If they would prefer for staff to make the color decision, then I'm happy to do so. We do have some speakers.
Ann Chamberlain?
My old knee doesn't work very well either.
My name is Ann Chamberlain, and I am a member of Friends of the Park. And
Might want to make sure that mic is on there. Is it? Press it there. Is it red?
no,
Little red button.
I broke it.
There,
Oh, there,
that's on.
thank you.
There you go.
My name is Ann Chamberlain. I'm a member of, one of the few members of Friends of the Park, and also a docent for the city of Oroville. I feel very passionately about the beautiful museums we have in this wonderful city. 2 years ago, our roof decided not to hold up. Part of it is, we've lost the part of the ceiling in what we call the nursery upstairs. We feel very strongly that this building, which is such an important part of the history of this area, needs to be taken care of. When it was turned over to the city in 1963, one of the caveats was that it would be taken care of. We've been agitating for 2 years and bothering everybody in City Hall, and we'd like this to come to fruition, and we'd like the darker gray, and we'd like it to be beautiful, and we know that you would do a great job. And it's from our hearts that we want this really beautiful building maintained and taken care of, and we hope the city can come through and do it for us. Thank you very much.
Bonnie Friedrich.
I mostly ditto what Ann has said. The roof in the nursery collapsed. We were there cleaning 2 years ago, and so we've had to close it off and remove all the artifacts out of that room, and there are some that are still in there in the closets, and so we've been monitoring that they don't get mildewed and stuff. So the city staff did put buckets up in the attic, and right now there's a 10-foot ladder in the bathroom so they can go up and check it. So we want to get the whole house opened again and be ready for tours when we start. I guess we're going to start now in March, but we hope that this year it can be taken care of. We've been banging our heads for 2 years. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Was there anyone else who wished to comment on this item? Seeing none? Well, it technically wasn't a hearing, but we'll move on. Any questions or comments from commissioners? I just had a few comments. Thinking about this, in the last few years, I've actually visited a few Victorian mansions in California, the Carson Mansion in Eureka, the Gingerbread Mansion in Ferndale, Fern Cottage in Ferndale, and the Painted Ladies in San Francisco. And all of those have this style of roofing on it. So those are very famous style homes, and if they have it and they're still tourist areas, I believe this would be okay. I think also if you wanted to look at photos, I believe the Carson Mansion in Eureka has the dark, and the Fern Cottage in Ferndale has the lighter. And so if you wanted to see them actually on that style. Mm-hmm. I think the main draw for this historic things are what's inside, and you can't protect what's inside if you most of some of those homes, though, they're not open to the public. They're just they're private. So any other?
How soon can this get started? With the rains coming and.
Well, at this point, we need approval here from the, and then I need to put it to once this evening is done, then I'll send it over to the Contractors Exchange in Chico and allow 2 weeks time period of notification for the contractors to be able to have a contractor bid walk, and then another 2 week time period for them to get the proposals in and together. And then once we make the determination of the winning bid proposal, then that's when they'll get started and go.
Goes before city council?
No,
it wouldn't have to.
Oh, that probably will, because the expenditure will exceed the allowable. But that's another reason we're going looking towards the composition shingle, because it's cedar shingles would be, without exaggeration, at least 7 times the cost and expense as a composition shingle.
Any other questions or comments?
Is it going to be an overlay? Are you going to lay it over the existing? Or
no, it's going to tear off. Yeah.
Cedar on there.
Okay, good.
If there are no other questions or comments, I'll open for a motion.
Is it a resolution or just a motion to approve?
Yep. Just to approve staff recommendations.
Just, I move that we approve staff recommendations.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any questions to the motion?
Are you looking for a color recommendation?
No.
That's what we're approving.
The gray? Okay.
The Dozens have chosen. We've given them the power of authority to make the choice in the color. They've made the choice.
Perfect.
Any other
We'll put it out
questions
to
as
bid.
to the motion?
Other questions? That's
Okay,
exactly.
voting is open. Does anyone wish to change their vote? Seeing none, voting is closed.
Motion carries.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for all the work you do. Good. We have nothing else on the item on the agenda, which is fine with me because I am tired. So we will adjourn. Do we have a set date for when we're adjourning to?
February 20. Hold on. The new template on Municode's a little strange, and I need to give them some feedback. It will be the 28th of February.
Okay, thank you. We will adjourn to February 28th.
Thank you, Gary, for getting this through. Glad to see it coming along. Interpretation. Good progress. Progress is good.
Thank you, Mr. Gurley.
Thank you for listening.